Hello there, you're watching NewsX and NewsX on YouTube. My name is Pankaj. With me is my colleague Siddharth Rege. The news that is coming in that IPL might be the decider for Mahendra Singh Dhoni, whether he gets an entry into the World T20 Championship. It's strange at the very first go that an IPL, a T20 game, but under very different circumstances, with a mix of team members from different countries, is going to decide something which is very innate to your own particular team, very own country. Siddharth, first things first, if I correctly remember, in 2019, the IPL was not a parameter for the selection for World Cup that was happening in England. How do you see it? Do you think it's a fair call to make IPL a measure for Mahendra
Well,
Dhoni?
no, it's absolutely bizarre because you understand why IPL wasn't a parameter for selecting batsmen for the 2019 World Cup.
World
Why?
Cup,
Because the formats were different. But even going on to say that IPL 2020 is going to be a very big parameter for selecting someone like an MS Dhoni for the World Cup. It's even more bizarre because firstly, this is not a young cricketer that we are talking about.
Yes.
It's not someone Shivam Dube who's going to play the IPL for the first time, and then
Right.
over the period you will see, yeah, probably this is the player that we need into a World Cup side. This is someone who's played, who's been Indian captain, who's a legendary Indian cricketer, and probably the most experienced player that we have. So even coming out and saying that IPL is going to be a parameter for selecting someone like a Dhoni for the T20 World Cup, it's absolutely bizarre. And see in the see from now November to the T20 World Cup, there's 6 months, right? And there are so many crucial tournaments that India is going to be playing.
Right.
There's a tour versus
West Indies.
West Indies, Australia,
Australia.
New Zealand. You're going to play Sri Lanka. So these five tournaments, these five key tours, I must
Yeah,
say.
yeah, exactly.
Someone
should
like,
have been,
yeah, exactly. Like if Dhoni decides to come back, which I think the final decision is going to be with him. We know that he's started practicing in Ranchi, but if he wants a comeback, he should be playing in one of these tournaments because Australia, New Zealand, they're
Absolutely.
going to be those competitors in the World Cup, right?
Right. See, one more thing, that I understand from it is Dhoni. We haven't seen him, playing that much in tests. Yes, he started his career, and when he started, T20 was not there, so it was a one-day international, and he can hit lusty shots.
Yeah.
He can swing his arm.
Yeah.
Kept the wicket also nicely. That was the time when he, made his mark in the ODI. Then came T20, where he obviously his style of batting is required, but age factor certainly is one of the issues. Given the tournaments that you are mentioning, obviously they are something, they are panned across the continents. You're going down south, you're playing in South
Exactly,
Asia,
exactly.
then you're going, playing in West Indies or playing against West Indies. All those things put together, that would be a conditioning thing that might have helped Dhoni. But Dhoni, as he is known, even with that. In the last World Cup match where we, crashed out of the semi-finals, New Zealand. I think it was till the very last moment Dhoni wanted to, take the match into that zone. He was not taking singles. He was retaining his, batting. I think for him it is what trademark or what. Hallmark that he brings to the table is to hit lusty shots, in the slog overs, and maybe hit at 30 or 40 odd runs in 6 balls, maybe. So for that particular aspect, these tournaments might not help that much. Yes, putting an IPL, my contention here is that you will be, you will be playing with a different set of teammates altogether. When you are playing for your country, and this is not patriotism that I'm talking about. This
Absolutely.
is about the
Gel.
camera, the
The
gelling.
gel. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll cite an example here. AB de Villiers, we all know him, South African swashbuckling batsman there. He wanted to be. He retired from all forms of cricket right before the World Cup. In 2018, he hung up his boots. But 2019, there were reports, and even AB actually wanted to come back to the team to play. But it was the coach at that particular time and the South African cricket board who said that no, AB de Villiers hasn't spent time with his
Absolutely.
team. That's why he just cannot parachute and play a World Cup for the team.
And there are arguments for that. South Africa didn't do well in the World Cup.
Absolutely.
But then again, see, with Dhoni now, there's also a role confusion that's there, because do you use Dhoni as a big hitter that he is,
Or a
do
wicket keeper.
or a wicket keeper, or a batsman who plays, comes down at number 4 and number 5 and stabilizes the innings.
Yes,
So
if
to
needed.
try out these combinations, you need some gelling, some tournaments that have to be
absolutely.
played preceding the World Cup, or else we'll see what we have been seeing in the World Cup.
So that particular tours can actually help it.
Absolutely. And more than that, we also have to think about possibly a Rishabh Pant or maybe a Sanju Samson, who's going to play these tournaments, these tours, and in the run up to that World Cup, and then might just end up losing their spot.
Yeah, suddenly you bring in a Dhoni. After they perform in all
if a
these matches.
Rishabh Pant plays well, say against New Zealand and Australia, and then he does not maybe perform well for Delhi Daredevils in the IPL,
Right.
then I don't think that's fair for him.
How crucial? You're absolutely right. We should not be, or there should be no injustice with a young talent like a Sanju or Rishabh out in the middle there. How big a role do you think that the coach would play? Because Ravi Shastri, given the kind of experience he has, both as a player and as a commentator and a cricket critique also, and now as a coach, do you think that he is going to have a say with the selectors? Or
See, the coach obviously does have a say in the team selection.
Okay.
But yes, at the end of the day, it's going to be MSK Prasad and what Ganguly thinks about
Yes,
what's
BCCI.
going to be the right squad. Because MSK Prasad, as far as he's concerned, his take has been straightforward. He's come out and said that we are moving beyond Dhoni, and now the focus is on Rishabh Pant. And yes, that's how a selector should be, because
Right.
Dhoni's retirement, at the end of the day, you have to give it to him. It's going to be decided by Dhoni. But
It has to be, yeah.
to some extent, it cannot affect our future, for say, because Rishabh Pant shouldn't be thinking that okay, it doesn't matter if I play well in these next two tournaments.
For what joy then he would be performing?
Exactly.
If at the end of the day someone else is going to walk away with the cake. But again, we must not forget here, and for the love of the fans of Dhoni, there is something in Dhoni. We also know Dhoni as a captain who had gotten, Ganguly, Lakshman and Sehwag out of the team and enthused fresh blood into the team back then when he, assumed the captaincy of the cricket team. But given the fact that Dhoni, once again, he has not been known as a Sachin Tendulkar, who would play longish innings,
Right.
And why I'm talking about batting all the time, because the T20 are mostly guided by the
Absolutely.
batting lineup.
Dhoni, the batsman,
Yeah.
is going to have a bigger impact than Dhoni, the wicket keeper.
So that way, maybe Rishabh Pant could be given a chance. Ravi Shastri could say that, hey, young boy, look, you have been, you won't learn everything in one day, and you will make mistakes, but then you will get there. So keep
Absolutely.
going
See,
ahead.
we've done many videos on Dhoni's retirement. We've done many shows on Dhoni's retirement, and the consensus always is simple. Right now, there's too much talking happening around Dhoni,
Right.
rather than Dhoni himself coming out and saying anything. Which,
Yeah, exactly.
by the way he has been, he's not going to do that. But signs were positive because he started practicing in Ranchi.
Right, in Ranchi,
Fans started thinking that even though he's not selected for West Indies, maybe the tournament after that, maybe for Sri Lanka he'll come in, and then we'll see that we'll see Dhoni end his career the way he should, by playing cricket. Absolutely, right?
Yeah, the only question is which and what is the right time to actually, call it off. That again, Dhoni would decide, because I remember that press conference back in Australia. I believe one of the journalists asked him that, "Are you going to play the next World Cup?" He was referring to 2019, and then he suddenly says, and he had performed well in that series, and he said, Do you think that my performance in any way looks like that I'm not going to play or calls for my retirement?"
Absolutely,
at that
because
World Cup?
an interesting point that you made around AB de Villiers, and that is something that Indian teams should avoid, right? Because you shouldn't be
That way, yeah.
because then at the end of the day, in April or May, you shouldn't there shouldn't come. This time shouldn't come where Dhoni says that yes, I now I'm ready to play and I am ready to play for the World Cup. But then the
team
selectors,
might not be
the
ready.
selectors will be like, yeah, we've been playing Rishabh Pant for all this while. He's done well, so sorry, you cannot play. That we shouldn't be reaching that
stage.
That stage, because then we saw what happened with South Africa. It's
Yes.
a big demoralizing factor for the team.
Bursting on their seams, definitely. Well, whether IPL would decide or not, that's another aspect. But yes, Dhoni is definitely playing IPL 2021 also. 2020,
2020 and 2021 as well.
both. Chennai Super Kings is putting its money on Dhoni, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. We'll be bringing you all the updates from the world of sports in our next videos.
Thanks.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.